The miraculous events in the world are both ways of conduct of God, but there's a difference. The way Hashem conducts the world through Teva, through nature, He conducts the world through certain laws that do not change unless there is a real need. Otherwise, they do not change. They are steady. And according to them, these laws, Hashem is relating to each and every individual creation, which is not the case when the nace comes in a manner of supernatural, when Hashem conducts the world according to His will. I don't care now about the laws of nature. I want things to happen according to what I want. Disregarding the laws of creation and the kunos, the qualities of creation, the nature of creation. Erev Hashem, good evening. This is the eve of the 26th of Adar, Shem Hashem of Adar. And we are learning the Maamar from the Rebbe כימי צאתך מארץ מצרים Aראנו Niflaos of Tafshin Yud Beis to understand, and perhaps it can contribute to our part in the anticipation of the miracles and the wonders that will occur in the Geula Amitis V'Ashleima in a way that Micha the prophet describes it, כימי צאתך מארץ מצרים Aראנו Niflaos. Like the days that I'm just reviewing the first chapter and we are holding by the second chapter of the Maamar. But just as the Pasuk says, as the days of your exodus from the land of Mitzrayim, Arenu Niflaos, I will show him wonders. And the Rebbe asked a few questions regarding this. First of all, we know already that the future Geula will be way higher spiritually in terms of the divine revelation than the Geula of Yetzias Mitzrayim, because of which Ben Zoma says, Ein maskirim Yetzias Mitzrayim b'imos HaMashiach, that according to Ben Zoma, we don't mention Yetzias Mitzrayim in the days of Mashiach, and even according to the opinion of Chachamim that disagree with him, that do say that maskirim Yetzias Mitzrayim b'imos HaMashiach. This is because there is a certain maila, the Rebbe is explaining, in Yetzias Mitzrayim in comparison to the future Geula. However, all agree that the future and complete Geula will be way, way greater than Yetzias Mitzrayim. And therefore the question remains, why does he compare? Does Micha Hanavi compare the days of coming out of this galus to the days of going out of the same wonders of coming, or similar wonders of coming out of Mitzrayim? Also, the Rebbe is asking, what does it mean when the Navi says that as the days of your coming out of Mitzrayim, Areну Niflaos, that there will be Arenu Niflaos? What does it mean? I will show him wonders, as it was in Yetzias Mitzrayim. Also, the Rebbe wants to understand Arenu, the word Arenu Niflaos. Not that there will be or there will happen Niflaos, there will happen miracles, but I will show him Niflaos. That means that the emphasis here is not necessarily the Niflaos, the miracle themselves, rather the effect that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will show the miracles. What is that about? Also, the third question is the Rebbe is asking why the Pasuk says Arénu. Because grammatically, כימי צאתך, the days of your exit of the land of Egypt, it should say Areka, I will show you wonders. That's grammatically correct. Here it says like the days of you coming out of Mitzrayim, I will show him wonders. What's going on with that? the Rebbe already brings right away to all of these scholarly participants in the shiur that know the Zohar back and forth, and the Rebbe says to them, well, I know what you're going to tell me, that in the Zohar it says, why it says Arenu Niflaos. I will show him wonder, because the pasuk is referring to Moshe Rabbeinu, that Hashem will show Moshe Rabbeinu, who is the last Redeemer as well, Niflaot. But the Rebbe says it's not satisfactory, because the simple pshat of the pasuk is just as the Jewish people, you came out of Mitzrayim, also the same, and you saw wonders, I will show you wonders also when you come out of the last galus. This is the pshat, this is the simple pshat of the pasuk. So we need to understand what is the connection, at least, between the two understandings, the Zohar and the Pshat. Now the Rebbe said that to the point of this, which we will go deeper and deeper into that, to unfold and uncover and discover the worlds of nisim, of miracles, and from where they are coming, to understand our relationship with Hashem in time of Galus, but most importantly, our relationship with Hashem in time of the Geula. So to understand that, the Rebbe says, first of all, in Nisim generally, in miracles generally, says the Rebbe, there are two kinds. There are miracles that are beyond nature, like the miracles that happen in Yetzias Mitzrayim, changing water to blood, and the splitting of the Red Sea. All such miracles where you see a total change in laws of nature. Then, says the Rebbe, there is a second kind of nisim. Nisim that are invested and expressed through, invested in, enclosed with, and expressed through nature. And in the second kind of miracles, which means miracles that are invested in nature and occur through nature, says the Rebbe, in that itself there are two kinds. One, such miracles that, all of them are expressed through nature. They don't crush nature. They don't transcend nature. They happen through nature, and you could say it all happened through the course of nature. But it is apparent in such nisim that even though they are melubashim, they are enclosed in the ways of nature, nevertheless everyone saw, and it was apparent to everyone, that these events were miraculous, like the nes of Chanukah and the nes of Purim. The nes of Chanukah didn't transcend nature. It's not like Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu when they came out before the splitting of the Red Sea, Mati Sakalai, what are you crying and screaming to me? Atem tacharishun, or Hashem yilachem lachem, v'atem tacharishun. Go tell your people, God will fight for you and you will be silent. That is an supernatural event, a supernatural way of occurrence of things. But then there is like the nitzachon, the victory of the milchama of Chanukah. It took place through ways of nature, meaning the Hashmonaim waged war against the Greeks. There was a fight. There was a war. It was a natural path that they took, which means fighting. But within the laws of nature of war, a miracle happened. the few and the weaker overcame the many and the stronger. And so too regarding Purim. There were kind of a sequence of events. Esther went to Achashverosh, she made a mishteh. Achashverosh couldn't sleep, insomnia. They brought the book of history. But then it was apparent to everyone that there was a guiding hand, Yad Mechabenes, that guided all those sequence of events that happened through natural courses. But altogether you could see that they are miraculous. Then that's the first kind of the second type of miracles. The first kind of the second type of miracles, which means the first kind of miracles that are occurring and happening through nature. The second kind of such miracles that occur through nature are miracles that they are so much covered and invested in the garments of nature that you cannot tell that it's a miracle. Completely covered up, to the extent that even Baal HaNes, eno makir beniso. Even the one that the nes happens to him doesn't at all recognize the miracle. So in this second kind of miracles, the levush of Teva, or the levushim, the levushei HaTeva, the garments of nature conceal the miracle completely. And you could think that it was only natural events. And to people it looks like olam keminhago noheg. The world runs is taking its natural course. Nevertheless, according to the truth, the events took place in such a way that they didn't came from the natural structure and laws and principles of the way things happen according to nature. Rather, it was really things happened because of and from the aspect of the divine will that really transcends the anhag of nature, way above it, yet made it all happen through nature, to the extent that you cannot even see that it's a miracle. Now, the Rebbe is saying that we need to understand spiritually what's going on here. Spiritually, the source and root of miracles that are invested in nature is higher than miracles that are supernatural. Miracles that are supernatural completely defy and crush the laws of nature. They go beyond, they annul laws of nature. So, in terms of what you see is a big miracle, how nature is not operating. But really, says the Rebbe, the spiritual source from where they are coming in godliness is lower than the nisim that are invested in happening through teva, through nature. And in those nisim that are so much invested in the manners of nature that you can't tell that they're miracles, those are the highest. Those come from the highest level of elokus, of godliness. And he brings the pasuk that we quote also in Tefillah, le'oseh niflaos gdolos levado, ki le'olam chazdo, right? So the one who does miracles by himself, we talk about Hashem, God, levado, the way he does miracles levado, by himself. And then the Chachamim, the sages said, what does it mean, levado? What I quoted before, afilu ba'al hanes eino makir beniso. They are so hidden that even the person who is the ba'al hanes, ba'al hasimcha, he doesn't recognize it, and that's at least b'shas ma'aseh. Sometimes when we look back, we can see, but really, bottom line, generally, we're talking about such miracles that even the person that the miracle occurred to him cannot recognize it's a miracle. That the root, the spiritual root of those miracles is coming from the highest, which is called levado. That levado means God alone. Not only that God alone is the one that can see it's a miracle, it's a level that is called levado. That means God in relation to himself, the highest level of godliness, the essence. Now we can start to begin to appreciate what Micha Navi is saying. Why? Because in the future Geula, Arenu Niflaos, I will show him wonders, the Jewish people. I will show them wonders. You know what kind of wonders? That come from levado. Wonders that usually you don't see. Wonders that are usually drowned and covered up and concealed by laws of nature and appearance of nature. It looks like nature is taking its course. But I will show you that each one of them, that those that look like course of nature are really niflaot. And from where are they coming? From levado, from God himself. From God, not just the external aspect of Elokus, of godliness, through which Hashem relates to others. Rather, levado, the way God is himself. The nature of such miracles that you don't see them. You can't, that's what you don't see God, even though God is here, and the essence of God is here and revealed. You cannot, at least yet, see it. So too the nature of such niflaos that come from levado, from God himself, when he doesn't compromise himself to fit into your tools of perception, such miracles are not seeable. They cannot be seen. Looks like nature. Areinu Niflaos. By the Geula, you'll be able to see even those miracles. And they will come from levado. In Mitzrayim, they didn't come from levado, as the expression of the Medrash, that in Mitzrayim, ani uveidini haiti me'alech lifnehem. Me, myself, and my court, my justice court, was walking in front of them in Egypt, said Hashem. But in the Geula Amitis V'Ashleima, it will be levado, God himself, God alone. And this is the chidush of Arenu Niflaos, that even the Niflaot that are coming from him himself, levado, which are bederech klal, in such a way, the experience is that only him alone knows that they are miracles. Nobody else realizes that they are. Nevertheless, Areinu Niflaos, it will be begilui, the miracle in them. This is basically what we learned until now. And now we are continuing, Be'ezras Hashem, in the second parak. Now, the Rebbe will focus on understanding, and again, we are going to go deeper and deeper. I didn't even realize how deep the Maamar is when I chose it, honestly. It's a wonderful Maamar, but deep. And it goes deeper and deeper, understanding really the mahus, the nature and the essence of these miracles that we are all going to experience. And it's wonderful, but it's not a short and not a easy, like, I mean, every Maamar is deep. I mean, there's no such a thing as a superficial Maamar, but this one is really fascinating. In any case, now the Rebbe will focus on the question why Micha Navi says כימי צאתך מארץ מצרים, like the days that you exited the land of Egypt. We know and even told, and we say it every day in the 6 Schiros and in other places, יום צאתך מארץ מצרים, למען תזכור את יום צאתך מארץ מצרים. The day we came out of Mitzrayim, on a day, a certain day. What do you mean the days of plural? What does Micha Hanavi mean? Lashon Rabim. Now, the background of this, even though the explanation the Rebbe will give here will be a Nigle explanation, the Hasidic known explanation is that it took one day to take Bnei Israel, the house of Israel, out of Egypt. But it took many days and has been taking many days to take Egypt out of the house of Israel and to prepare them to be people of Geula and to prepare the world to be a world of Geula, of redemption. And that's why it's called כימי, because we are still coming out of our Egypt. In any case, that's not the explanation that the Rebbe will give here. The Rebbe will give here a pshat explanation, a halachic explanation, if I may say. And let's look inside chapter פרק ב'. והנה ידוע הדיוק, מה שכתוב ימי צאתך מארץ מצרים, כימי לשון רבים. It's known, the diuk, also the Zohar refers to it. Why it says, like the days that you came out of Egypt, כי ימי, plural, the days. הרי יציאת מצרים הייתה ביום אחד, ובזכירת יציאת מצרים כסיב, זכור את היום הזה אשר יצאתם ממצרים. This is in Parshas Boy. So in Yetzias Mitzrayim happened in one day, and in remembering of the exodus of Mitzrayim, it says and written in the Torah, זכור את היום הזה אשר יצאתם ממצרים. Remember that day, not days, day, one day, when you came out of Egypt. Or, as we say, quoting Parshas Re'eh, in the Torah it says, and we quote it in our Shesh Schiros daily, after davening, למען תזכור את יום צאתך מארץ מצרים. And we add, כל ימי חייך. For the sake of you daily, we have to remind ourselves the day of coming out of Mitzrayim, always. Why Micha Navi says כימי ימים, not יום, days, plural. ויש לומר הביאו בזה. The explanation will be, as Chazal of Rashi explains also, ביציאת מצרים נכלל גם קריאת ים סוף. That in Yetzias Mitzrayim, yes, the exodus of Mitzrayim, according to the view of Chazal of what the exodus of Mitzrayim meant in terms of the experience of the house of Israel, was in such a way that the exodus of Mitzrayim included and was completed with the splitting of the Red Sea. Why? Because until they saw this שר של מצרים מס על שפת הים, the spiritual officer of Egypt, dead on the edge, on the shore of the Red Sea, when they came out safe and sound and the Mitzrim drowned, they saw the שר של מצרים, the spiritual officer of the nation of Egypt, destroyed. And then they became free from the eima, from the pachad, from the fear of Egypt. So Rashi says that only then they were liberated from the fear of Egypt. As long as Egypt was after them, Egypt was still existing in their form. Even though they left Egypt, the fear of Egypt was still upon them. But it was over by the event of Kriyas Yamsuf, of the splitting of Yamsuf. וכן הוא במצוות זכירת יציאת מצרים בכל יום, שנכלל בה גם זכירת קריאת ים סוף. And so too, in the halachos also the Alter Rebbe brings in the halachos of Kriyas Shema regarding what that we have to mention in Emes veYatziv right after Shema, not only that we have to mention in Shema Yetzias Mitzrayim, and that's what we do at the end of Shema, but also we are mentioning Kriyas Yam Suf in Emes veYatziv, right after Shema. So that's what the Alter Rebbe is saying. Yovechenu b'mitzvah zchiras Yetzias Mitzrayim b'chol yom. We have the mitzvah aseh to remember Yetzias Mitzrayim daily. וכן במצווה סיפור יציאת מצרים בליל הפסח. And so too regarding the telling of the story of the exodus of Egypt on the night of Passover, of Pesach. וכל המרבה לספר ביציאת מצרים, הרי זה משובח. That the more one tells, and increasing in telling, the story of the exodus of Mitzrayim, the better it is. The more praiseworthy it is. שגם סיפור קריאת ים סוף נכלל בזה. That when Chazal say that כל המרבה לספר ביציאת מצרים הרי זה משובח, as we say on the Seder Pesach, that anyone who is increasingly telling the stories of Yetzias Mitzrayim, for which the Haggadah is, a lot of it is written, is then the better it is. That includes the sipur, the telling of Kriyas Yamsuf, which is nichlal bazeh, it's included in this. As we say, kama makos laku al hayam. Remember how many makos they were hit by the yam? We're talking about Yamsuf. Was it 5? What is 200? This, that, counting. It's all about the makos by Yamsuf. So the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim that we should increasingly tell includes the splitting of Yam Suf, because that was the completion of Yetzias Mitzrayim, even though that literally they came out of Mitzrayim in one day. V'lachen, and therefore, since Yetzias Mitzrayim, according to Halacha even, according to Chazal, according to our Minhagim, we see what we say on Seder Pesach, we are including Yam Suf, Kriyas Yam Suf, therefore, לכן נאמר, כימי צאתך מארץ מצרים, כימי לשון רבים. Like the days, plural, that you came out of the land of Mitzrayim, plural. And therefore, and here we're not talking about the Hasidic idea, but we're talking about literally that it took a few days from the 15th of Nisan till the 21st. Only then they saw the complete destruction of the Egyptian nation and their power above. So it took a few days, a week or almost a week. ומה שכתוב במצוות זכירת יציאת מצרים, יום צאתך מארץ מצרים הוא... So if this is the case, that coming out of Egypt includes the splitting of the Yam Suf, so in this case, we are transverting, how do you say? We are turning around the question. If in this case, why Chazal say in the mitzvah, or why it says in the Torah, regarding the mitzvah of remembering the mitzvah Tizchiras Yetzias Mitzrayim, why the Torah says Yom Tzescha Me'eretz Mitzrayim? If this is the case, the Torah should also says that Zachor et Yemei Tzedcha me'eret Mitzrayim. Why Torah says Zachor et Yom Tzedcha me'eret Mitzrayim? Who? כי עיקר המצווה דזכירת יציאת מצרים היא זכירת יציאת מצרים עצמה. Because the main mitzvah, מן התורה, the main mitzvah of remembering יציאת מצרים is the Exodus itself, means the day when they came out. וזכירת קריאת ים סוף אינה מעכבת. And remembering the splitting of the Yam Suf is not me'akev, meaning that if you say the Shema and you didn't say emes v'yatziv, which means in the end of Shema you mention Yetzias Mitzrayim, so you do the mitzvah of remembering the Exodus of Mitzrayim, and you don't say emes v'yatziv, in which you do remember Kriyas Yam Suf normally. Let's say you didn't. Are you yoytze the mitzvah? Did you fulfill the mitzvah of remembering Yetzias Mitzrayim? Or since you didn't mention Kriyas Yam Suf, the splitting of the sea, you didn't fulfill this mitzvah? The answer is that halachically you did. So it's ena me'akev. If you didn't mention Kriyas Yam Suf, but you did mention Yetzias Mitzrayim, you're yoytze the mitzvah. ופירוש כימי צאתך מארץ מצרים אראנו נפלאות הוא. So that is so far what the Rebbe says here. I don't want to repeat again. I want to move on. Okay. So we understand why Yemei, because if you want to be really particular here, it includes the finale of the splitting of the Yam Suf, when Bnei Israel were completely liberated from the fear of the Egyptian people and army and nation, including their spiritual minister in heavens. But in terms of halachically, it's enough. Yayoytze, if you remember the day you came. Fine. Now, if this is the case, so now let's get back to the original pasuk of Micha, who says, כימי צאתך מארץ מצרים אראנו נפלאות. So the parish of this pasuk is who? שבגאולה העתידה יהיו הניסים והנפלאות שהיו ביציאת מצרים עצמה. That in the future גאולה, there will be similar kinds of miracles and wonders that took place in the Exodus of Mitzrayim itself, including וגם הנס והפלא דקריאת ים סוף, including the miracle and the wonder of קריאת ים סוף. There will be similar ניסים לקריאת ים סוף also in the future גאולה. כמו שכתוב, as it says, where does it say? In ישעיהו פרק, the 11th chapter. Interesting. 11 always represents higher than Teva. And in Yeshayahu it says, ואחרים הוויה את לשון מצרים גומר, that Havaya will be macharim the לשון ים מצרים, the לשון means the tongue, with the peninsula, I don't know how it's called, of the Sea of Mitzrayim. והייתה מסילה, and there will be a path, כאשר הייתה לישראל ביום עלוסו מארץ מצרים. Just as it happened to the house of Israel on the day when they came up and out from Eretz Mitzrayim. So these words, כימי צאתך מארץ מצרים, teach us that the coming out of Mitzrayim in a complete sense includes קריאת ים סוף, and so too the Niflaos, the wonders of the Geula Asida, will be similar. That there will be such a pele that is expressed in Yeshayahu as ואחרים את לשון ים מצרים, and then Yeshayahu says והניף ידו על הנהר באיים רוחו, that God will raise his arm on the river with the might of his spirit, ויקרו לשבעה נחלים, and whatever body of water it is, Hashem will strike it to 7 rivers, וידרך בנעלים, and he will lead the Jewish people stepping into the special paths that he will create. והייתה מסילה לשאר עמו אשר יישאר מאשור. And Yeshayahu says there will be a path through which they will cross this body of water for the rest of his people that will remain from Assyria, from Ashur. כאשר הייתה לישראל ביום עלוסו מארץ מצרים. Just as it happened to the Jewish people on the day that came up from Egypt. So, in Metzudas David there, about the Pasuk in Yeshayahu, what does mean Hecherim? Hecherim could mean 2 things. L'Acharim, the waters of the Nahar of Mitzrayim, the waters of the river of Mitzrayim, even though it will not be in Egypt, it will be in the area of Iran, Iraq, in the Euphrates, Nahar Pras. So let's see, Metzudas David, I'm just bringing here what it says, Metzudas David, he brings Hecherim. Metzudas David says, Yachres mei Nahar Mitzrayim. He will cut the waters of the river of Mitzrayim in order to enable to the Geulim, to the redeemed ones, to go through. Ala Nahar, upon the river. Which river are we talking about? Says Metzudas David, Nahar Pras, the river of Euphrates. So they will come from the area of, I don't know exactly, I'm not good in geography, but it's the area of Iran, Iraq, Kurdistan, those areas, the Yarei Ararat, where the Teva is, from those places that the 10 tribes are still hidden there, whatever is left. Ve'ikahu, and this body of water, this Euphrates, this Nahar, this river, God will strike it, and it will be divided to 7. Echerim also means, does it say it here? Le'acharim also means he dried up. Like in Mitzrayim, that Hafach Yam le'Yabasha, it dried up the water, and it became dry land that they could step on, the Geulim, those redeemed ones. So too will happen. Echerim means also to dry out, to dry the land when he made the path after cutting this river Pras to 7 rivers. So in between there will be dry, 7 paths, and they will come just similar to the way the Bnei Israel crossed the Yam Suf. והייתה מסילה, there will be a paved path, says the Metzudas David, as if there was always a path there and they will comfortably walk through it. Just as it was in Nahar Mitzrayim. So what will happen in Nahar Prat, or Pras, which is the Euphrates, will be similar to what happened to Nahar Mitzrayim, to Yam Suf. There it was cut to 12, here to 7. You need to understand what we're talking about, but here is not the subject. This is the subject discussed, of the discussion. Okay. So, we understand that there is a similarity. First of all, we got to know that Hashem Arenu Niflaos. What kind of Niflaos? Levado. The highest levels of miracles that come from the God himself, that only he can produce such miracles, as we will see further on. They will be these few miracles that he can't even recognize because they look like course of nature. These such miracles are not seen normally. In the Geula, Mitzvah Shleima Arenu. What Arenu Niflaos? What Niflaot? They come from Levado. Now we'll be able to see it, how everything that looks natural is a miracle. We look around and we'll see how that which looks natural is really a miracle, without destroying nature. In nature, we'll see the miracle. Aránu. The second thing is that there will be an experiencing of crossing the river similar to what happened at the Exodus of Mitzrayim, the Kriyas Yamsuf. וצריך להבין, and we need to understand, ask the Rebbe Shlita, השייכות לשני העניינים, the connection between these 2 points, that כימי צאתך מארץ מצרים אראנו נפלאות, that just at the days of your exodus of Mitzrayim I will show you wonders, שגם הנפלאות הנמשכים ממנו יתברך לבדו יהיו באופן דארנו, שיראו את הנס שבהם, that even the niflaos that come from a God himself, those the highest church of miracles, they will be seen and recognized as miracles. ושבהנפלאות שיהיו בגאולה העתידה יהיה גם הפלא דקריאת ים סוף. And also the fact that in the miracles of the future Geula will be also included crossing the river. What does one has to do with the other? The fact that Arenu Niflaos and the fact that we'll be also crossing the river, similar Niflaot. What's happening here? ויובן זה בהקדים. Now we're going deeper into understanding that the Maila of the root, of the source of a nace which is invested in nature, we will discuss more the Maila of this kind of a nature which is expressed, occurring through nature, the Maila, the advantage, the virtue of such a nace over a supernatural miracle. And that we learn from the nace itself. And we learn 2 points about it. ויובן זה בהקדים לזה ששורש הניסים המלובשים. This is the 3rd chapter now in the Maamar. This will be understood by first prefacing לזה ששורש הניסים המלובשים בטבע הוא ממקום נעלה יותר משורש הניסים שלמעלה מהטבע. The fact that the source of miracles that are invested in nature is higher than the source and the root of miracles that are supernatural, that completely transcend and break nature. Who is? Why? כי בהניסים שלמעלה מהטבע, הגילוי דאור אינסוף הבלי גבול שלמעלה מעולמות, שממנו נמשכים הניסים, ובאופן שהטבע בטל על ידי הגילוי, שידוד מערכות הטבע, ובמילא אין נמשך הגילוי בעולם. So, in miracles that are supernatural, completely supernatural, higher than nature, like when the waters in Yam Suf stood up, or the waters of the rivers of Egypt turned to blood. These are supernatural events. So those kinds of events, the Gilui of Or and Sof, which is infinite and higher than worlds, from where these Nisim come. So those Nisim that completely transcend nature and have nothing to do with nature come from Or and Sof, which is higher than worlds, which is infinite and unlimited. And when they happen in such a way that the Teva, as the Rebbe is saying here, is completely annulled. All laws of nature stop functioning in the face of this revelation, of this miracle. And therefore, that is what is called Shidud Ma'arachos. All the systems of nature are crashing, are not operating. Ubemela, this Gilui, this divine revelation, is not drawn and is not brought into the world. The world is shutting down in front of them in the face of these miracles, but they do not interact with the world. They do not, certainly are not integrated in the world. They are shattering the laws of the world, of nature. These are miracles that are coming from a level of Elokus which is higher than טבע. ובהניסים המלובשים בטבע. In the nisim, in the miracles that are invested and expressed through nature, הגילוי דאור אינסוף הבלי גבול שלמעלה מעולמוס הוא בעולם עצמו. Those miracles are very special. You know why, says the Rebbe? Because in those cases, when miracles happen through nature and through natural courses, it means that the Or Ein Sof, which is bli gvul, the infinite light of God, which is higher than worlds, is now present and manifesting through and in the world itself. It doesn't crush the world. It doesn't have to annul the laws of nature, make them stop operating and say, I completely ignore you, it will go my way. No, it happens through nature. As we learn, as Rabbi Yoel explains here, that as we learned in Perek Aleph, in the first chapter, sign nature, and this we will go deeper into it because we will still have to understand, because first we learn that sign nature and sign miracles is a conduct of God himself, which means sign the natural conduct in the world and sign the miraculous events in the world are both ways of conduct of God. But there is a difference. The way Hashem conducts the world through Teva, through nature, he conducts the world through certain laws that do not change unless there is a real need. Otherwise, they do not change. They are steady. And according to them, these laws, Hashem is relating to each and every individual creation, which is not the case when the nace comes in a manner of supernatural, when Hashem conducts the world according to his will. I don't care now about the laws of nature. I want things to happen according to what I want, disregarding the laws of a creation and the tchunos, the qualities of creation, the nature of creation. But we will have to, I don't want to tire your mind, but we still, if we realize really that both of them, natural and supernatural, are divine conduct, divine ways with which Hashem, through which, or manners through which Hashem conducts the world, so then what's the difference? So we'll have to understand the difference also. Okay, let's continue inside. So we learned already, though, that those miracles, obviously, that are invested in nature come from a higher source, of Levado, Hashem alone, Hashem himself. And miracles that have to crush nature come from a lower level. בכיוון שהעולם עצמו הוא גבול. Now we will see how the nace, when it permeates nature, is much higher. וכיוון שהעולם עצמו הוא גבול, since the world itself is גבול, which means finite, the גבול ובלי גבול הם שני הפכים. Finite and infinite are two opposites. לכן, therefore, בכדי שהגילוי דאור אינסוף הבלי גבול יהיה בהגבול דעולם. So what can Hashem do if he wants to bring the Or Ein Sof habli gvul, the infinite light, his infinite self-expression, his infinite light, into the finiteness of the world? Really, this is Dira B'Tachtonim. Hashem wants to be fully expressed in his unrestrained way, the way he authentically is, in this finite world. How can he do it? How can you combine infinite with finite? His light is Ein Sof, and the world is finite, is Gvul. His light is Bli Gvul, without boundaries, and the world is Gvul, is finite with boundaries. How can he merge the two? הוא על ידי שהמשחס הבלי גבול היא מעצמוס אור אין סוף שנמצא בכל מקום גם בהגבול וטבע דעולם. Now the Rebbe is saying, in order to combine infinite and finite, you have to bring out Hamshacha, a divine flow that is infinite, but not just from the power of Bli Gvul, of infinity. You have to go to the essence of Or Ein Sof. You have to go to the essence of God's infinite light, which means the way the essence is touching the luminary itself, its source, not just the way the essence, the Or reveals itself in an infinite way, but the way the Or is completely reflecting its source, and that's the essence of Or Ein Sof. That essence, you cannot even say that it's limited by infinity. It's higher than finite and infinite, if you're talking about the essence of Or Ein Sof, because the essence of Or Ein Sof reflects the real Ein Sof, and the real Ein Sof is higher than Gilui and Helem, higher than finite and infinite. Its essence is higher than any of these definitions and limitations, even the limitation of infinity. If you define the Ein Sof as the Avodas HaKodesh says, if you define Or Ein Sof as just infinite, you are taking away from its perfection, from its wholeness. And therefore, if you want to combine both, you have to bring from Atzmus Or Ein Sof, which nimtza bechol makom, which is present everywhere. Or Ein Sof is all over, everywhere, equally. Gam be'agvul v'teva olam. It is even present in the gvul and in the nature of the world. So this is the great chidush of the nace that is melubash, that is invested and enclosed and expressed through nature. That means that the tchunos, the qualities, the laws, the principles, the boundaries, the modum operation, how do you call it in English, MO, or something like that. You know, the way the world operates. All these laws are not ceasing to exist because of this Or Ein Sof that is infinite. That happens in a regularness, in a regular supernatural event. It's the opposite. Now the infinite light is operating through the natural qualities of nature, of Teva, of world, and is revealed in them themselves. And seemingly, as obviously we ask, how is it possible? How can it be that Bli Gvul, infinite, will be revealed in a reality of finite finitude, of Gvul that is contradictory? And that's why the Rebbe explains that this definition that the infinite is separate from the finite and cannot be present in the finite, this is true only regarding the infinite itself. But Atzmus Or Ein Sof, this is the Koach HaBli Gvul. Or Ein Sof is a power of infinity and a power of finitude. So mitzad, the power of infinity of Or Ein Sof, of the infinite light of God, you're right. It is contradictory to finitude. It cannot coexist with finitude in a revealed way. But if you go to the essence, Atzmus Or Ein Sof, which is beyond and not defined by any of these two koachos, the koach gvul or koach habli gvul. And that essence of Or Ein Sof is nimsa b'chol makom, is everywhere. And from that aspect of the essence of Or Ein Sof, the bli gvul, the or bilti gvul, the or that is unlimited, the light that is unlimited, can be revealed in the finite world, in the limited world. Why? As Rabbi Yoel explains here, that Atzmus Or Ein Sof is bilti mugdar klal. If you're talking about the essence of Or Ein Sof, you can't define it at all, not even by calling it bli gvul. And therefore, just as you cannot define it as infinite, nothing will contradict it either. And therefore, when you have an expression, a revelation of Or Ein Sof itself, beyond the way it is divided to two infinite powers, the power of infinity and the power of finitude. Both of them are infinite, by the way. Even the power of finitude is infinite. He has an infinite power of being able to be expressed in a finite way. In any case, when it comes from the essence of Or Ein Sof, then gvul, finitude, finite, is not a contradiction. And therefore, the essence of Or Ein Sof itself can be expressed through gvul as well. So these are one mile. You can understand why the nisim that are coming through Teva, they are rooted on the highest level of Or Ein Sof, in the essence of Or Ein Sof. Versus the nisim that are crushing Teva, that are breaking the rules of nature, they don't come from the essence of Or Ein Sof. They come from one of the koachos of Or Ein Sof, the koach of infinity, the power of infinity. And therefore, yes, for them, Teva is a contradiction, and therefore they have to crush Teva and transcend it. And say, well, Teva, you have to be now quiet. Now I'm operating. The miracle is happening, and you have to be silent. Two lights is there two sources, two levels of the light, because there is the pnimius, the essence of the light, and there's the חיצוניus. Really, there are three, but not to confuse you, let's divide it now to two. בכלל, when you learn different musagim, remind me your first name. Light, okay? You can divide the light to two aspects. There is the pnimius of the light, the inner aspect of the light. That means the way it reflects its source, the way it is battled to its source. The agenda of that is not at all to illuminate or to shine. The essence of the light is to be battled to its source. And it has no expression at all. Now you want to talk about the aspect of the light that relates to someone else? That's the external aspect of the light, which its agenda is to shine, to reveal. It's not to reveal what? Yeah, to reveal its essence too. But the idea there is not to be battled. The idea of the external aspect of the light is to reveal. And in the way it reveals, it can be revealed in two ways. it has, now here you can divide. There is a manner of revelation which is infinite. And then there is, that's the ability, one ability of that infinite power. And then there is a manner of revelation which is in a manner of finitude. Which means Or and Sof. If you're talking about Gilui, the way it is mitgale, the way it is revealing itself, that's, whenever you talk about revelation, you're talking about external. Whenever you talk about the essence is usually bilti misgale. It's not revealable. So when you talk about the external aspect of the light that the way it shines, you can divide it Or and Sof to two powers. There are two infinite powers. One is koach habli gvul and one is koach hagvul. One is power of infinity to reveal itself in an infinite way. And another infinite power is the power of gvul to reveal himself in finite ways. He has an infinite power like that as well. And in that case, if you're talking about the revelation of Or and Sof, yes, there are contradictory, this contradiction between the koach hagvul and koach habli gvul. And therefore, if you want to reveal the koach habli gvul, you have to annul any expression of gvul. Talking about real gvul here. Any expression of gvul, it will be contradictory. And therefore, when a miracle from the bli gvul occurs in the finite world, teva has to be broken. But when you go not to the external aspect of Or and Sof, you go to the, if you may say so, your internal aspect of Or and Sof, which means the Rebbe calls it here Atzmus Or and Sof. Or and Sof, what do you mean Atzmus? We defined based on Rabbi Abba Yossi Paltir's definition. I like that definition. That what is etzem? Essence is a translation, but what is etzem is the way something is in relation to itself. So if you talk about the way Or and Sof is in relation to itself, or you can say in relation to the Ma'or, to its source, there it is way beyond and above the power of infinity or the power of finitude, and not mugdar by them. It is not defined by them, because it's above that. And from that essence of the light come the miracles that are invested in nature and are occurring through nature. This is one point that the Rebbe explained so far in understanding the virtue, the special quality of miracles that are invested in nature. And we are all in the roots. It's a mental, spiritual journey of really understanding the virtue of Dira B'Tachtonim. The Rebbe is not saying it in such oisios, but really this is what it is. Because as long as nature is not part of Gilui Elokus, of the revelation of godliness, it's not Dira B'Tachtonim. Obviously, it has to come to nature. You know, it reminds me what what we say in Shema, Yehuda Ilah, Yehuda Tata. Why we say, when you say Shema, that's already the highest unification with God. Why after Yehuda Ilah, you got to Shema, you got to the highest unification with oneness with God. Why you say Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuso L'Olam Va'ed? Which is the lower level of Yechud. The higher level, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. There's bittul b'metzius. We are completely non-existent. We are insignificant. And we got to understand that and to recognize this. And we are one with God. Eino milvadoi. Oseh niflaos levado. But then why do we say Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuso L'Olam Va'ed? Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuso is Yechud HaTata. That means the lower Yechud unification, in which we realize, we say we are a Yesh, we exist, but we have a creator, so we have to subjugate ourselves to our master, to our creator. This is a lower level of Yechud. So why, if we got to the higher level of Yichud, the Yichud Eilah, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, we need to say, Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuto Olam Vaed. We're going down. So there are many explanations. And some of them is because we're talking to an average Yid, and an average Jew is not holding by Yichud Eilah. And doesn't feel that he's battled by Metzius, that he is non-existent. And therefore, and allow him also to feel the oneness of Hashem on the level of Yichud HaTata, and therefore after that we also say Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuto Olam Vaed, that will include most of us ordinary people's consciousness and awareness of the oneness of Hashem in terms of this world. But this is not the deeper explanation. The deeper explanation why we say Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuto Olam Vaed is because we want to bring down this Yichud Eilah, this perspective of Asmus Or Ein Sof, Ein Od Milvadoi, Oseh Niflaos Dolot Levado, down to our world, to our created world. And for that we say Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuto Olam Vaed, that eventually we will be able to all see, Arenu Niflaos, how this world is an expression of the highest level of godliness itself.